Ready? So why not? Do we have a quorum?
We do not. Folks just walked in.
All right, the folks just walked in. So now we do have a quorum, and we can start, and we will start with the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thanks everybody. We had accommodations today, which seems to always get us started a little bit later, and but we will get started now. And I do believe, here we are, we do have a modification to the agenda, which we will take care of at this time.
I'd like to add a supplemental personnel report dated today.
Which is
before everyone,
this piece of paper, which we were able to review, so that should be all right. And Chris is down because Chris is going to be reading a little bit.
Cameron?
Not quite yet, but so we will start off with receiving and hearing delegations, which means folks who wish to speak can speak to us. And this 3 minutes is the max per person. I do see a fair amount of folks specifically speaking to one individual position in the district. We do not discuss personnel items in public. You can speak to the broad issues, you can speak to really anything you want. If you get too personal, if really we do not, as an example, you can't stand up and say the principal's great, or I hate Jason, or things like that. Either one, we don't need. It's not the place for that. But certainly glad to hear those who have signed up and wish to speak. So if you're going to speak to a budget item or speak to an issue, we would suggest you speak more broadly, and hopefully that's clear. If we get down into it and we hear individual name over and over and over again, I will ask you to stop doing that. So, but we're going to go ahead and get started. And Chris is going to read them off because everything's fuzzy to me, Chris.
Well, I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but I've got Cameron Brahmer.
Burbank.
Sorry, Cameron.
Here's Cameron. All right.
Did we come up there to speak or speak from where we are?
It's however you want to do it and however you can do it with efficiency.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and speak from where I am. My name is Cameron Burbank. I'm a senior at the Ithaca High School, and I am here as two different people today, actually. I am here as an Ithaca High School senior, and I am here as an older brother, both of which I will address. As an Ithaca High School senior, I have been given so many opportunities. I am in Code Red Robotics. I have been involved with so many different things that the tech department has done. I have been involved with various students going above and beyond what they have been asked to do as they come to this district. But no opportunity has been as important to me as the one that has been given to me by the position of AV Media Engineer. This is a position that is proposed to be cut next year, which is certainly a concern to me because I don't want to see this position leave the district. It's something that has done so much for me. I want it to do the same for everybody next year, the year after that, and for the following years. It has allowed me to travel to Middletown to record the boys soccer finals and stream them back. We had about 300 viewers. We're going to have a student touching on that later. That was a very strong moment for myself, certainly something that's on my resume, and it's just endless opportunities. You're going to hear a bunch of those today from various students. I said two things. The first was that I was here as an IHS student. That is because I have experienced all these things and they've meant so much to me. The second is I'm here as an older brother. I have a younger sister. Her name is Karina Burbank. She's 15. She's a freshman at IHS. She just started this year. She's sitting right over there. She probably doesn't want me to call her out by name. A little uncomfortable for her.
A little late for that, but go ahead.
But these are experiences that I want to see her have, that she wants to be able to have. She said that to me. I come back from these trips going out to Middletown, New York. I've come back from these events at our local school here, broadcasting these sporting events. I've come back from doing a IHS tour video for our principal, Mr. Trumbull, which I've been having a lot of fun doing. And I always get the reaction of, wow, that is fantastic. And I want her to have the same experiences I've had. My parents do, she wants to, and I'm sure the Board of Education would love for her to have the same experiences that I've had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Noah Davis.
Yes, hello. My name is Noah Davis. I'm also a senior at the high school, and I'm talking about the same subject Cameron was, the position of AV Media Engineer. This position has really meant a lot to me as someone who loves technology and STEM education, especially on the side of communications. I think media is really important. This position has done a great job for the district. From all the stuff it's done, from the tour videos to helping produce morning announcements with the video for all the students to enjoy, from helping us to do shows which have been broadcast on Time Warner Cable. All these experiences have really meant a lot to me and a wide variety of other students. So I want to voice my concern that this position should be kept if absolutely possible. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Noren.
Scott Noren. I'm a local surgeon and proud father of a daughter, Ariel, who was kind of shy about speaking, which is kind of funny because she's in the show too. I've seen a lot of changes in my daughter because of this experience that she's gone through. Very positive for all the students. I think they all do a great job. And my understanding is there's two parts to this position. And without going into like technical details of that, I have overwhelming support for the expertise that's given and the technical teaching that's given the background, both with computers and how to do the technical aspects of the show. And I truly think from talking to students that without that additional position, basically, I think it would be a little lackluster. To tell you the truth, it would be hard to replace not only the person, but also what's given, the teaching that's given, and the aspects that's given from that position. I don't think there's a good substitute for it from talking to everybody and getting a good feel for that. There's obviously budgetary issues with all this, but I'm speaking in support of the position for those reasons, and the students can expound on many of the experiences that they've had. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Ariel Noren.
Hi, I'm Ariel Noren. I'm a student from the Ithaca High School. I am on the IHS WRED morning show that plays throughout the day. This class has given me a lot of experience behind the scenes and on air. I definitely wouldn't have the experience with the technology if we didn't have this program, at least until college, for sure. The program has also helped me determine what career I wanted to go into. So that's been very helpful. I'm all for the position. So. Yeah.
Thank you.
Scott Partington.
Hi, I'm Scott Partington. I'm a junior at Ithaca High School. Thank you for listening to what we have to say today. You asked us to speak broadly about this, so I'm going to give you the most broad sense I can. For me, this position means two things. First and foremost, it's about giving students the opportunity to apply the skills they learn in the classroom in a practical, real-life setting. And two, it's about building community at Ithaca High School. And so for me, for my personal experience, I was given the chance to cover the graduation last year and do a live stream on YouTube and learn what goes into all the aspects that goes into covering a live event via digital communication. So that was a very exciting, practical, real-life application of the skills I learned at Ithaca High School. And Furthermore, I started the TV production club at the high school where myself and other students who have a passion for digital media meet once a week and produce a TV show that goes on YouTube using the facilities. And these two experiences would not have been possible without the expertise brought by the AV media engineer position. It's really what let students go above and beyond what they learn in the classroom and kind of sort out their passions for digital communication, which in my opinion is the way things are going. That's the future of communications. Secondly, for building community at the high school, I think that the content that this program, this additional after-school program creates is really important for building community at the high school, whether it's being able to watch the soccer team play live or seeing Parker Hubble and Dr. Brown do their show last year. Just all those different things. The happy Pharrell Williams song that they did last year, those sort of things. I think this really is a good avenue for creating school community, a sense of community at the high school. And I know personally that if not for these extra programs, I would not have crossed paths with many students who I would consider very friends today, and I think it's very exhilarating to collaborate with them outside of the classroom in that regard. So just thanks for listening to me today, and hope you consider keeping the position.
Max Kayward?
I'm Max Kayward. I'm a junior at Ithaca High School, and the AV Digital Media Engineer position has given me a countless number of opportunities also. It also has helped me decide what I want to pursue in my future, that being communications. Some of the opportunities that it has given me include going to Middletown to film and commentate the boys' soccer semifinal and final. That, as Cameron said, had over 300 views on YouTube, and I got countless number of compliments from that. So, also going to Binghamton to have an internship filming Binghamton Senators live hockey in the arena, and that being shown to tens of thousands of people in the arena and watching on television, and that just means a lot to me. So I think that the position really exemplifies what it means to be a student and to use your skills that you learn in school, outside of school, and it's also given me countless number of connections with different teachers in different districts, different students, different adults, and I just can't thank the person in that position enough for what they've done, and that's why I believe that the position should stay in the district for next year and for future years to come. Thank you.
April, and I think the last name begins with a C. Carol?
April apparently knows her last name, so
I thought it was.
Hi, I am an IHS senior, and I'm sorry, my name is April Carroll, and I'm going to be talking about how the AV media engineer position has helped me fulfill my dream of becoming a director. So next year I'm going to be going to Ithaca College for film. Yeah. But before I decided on making all these college decisions, and I even thought really about going to IC, I started to take this class called WISE, and I don't know if any of you knows what the WISE program is, but it's an independent senior elective class, and half of the year you focus mainly on English course, and the second half of the year you get to choose an independent project and focus on that for the second half of the year. So surprisingly enough, I decided to make a Disney TV show, and first off, I didn't really know the first thing about making a Disney TV show. I had done films before, I had been interested in like stuff like that, but I had nowhere to go, I didn't know what to do, and then I was able to get connected to this program of RED and all those people there, and so let me just give you a schedule of what we do. So once we meet every week, there are about 50 of us in the cast. We have a crew of anywhere between 1 to like 5 people. We are there every normally every Monday, Tuesday, sometimes on Wednesdays and Thursdays after school from 4:30 to 6:30, with permission, of course, from the school. And we film these awesome, hilarious TV show episodes, but it's all with the help of the AV media engineer position, because first I wouldn't be able to use the equipment. I wouldn't know the first thing about using the equipment. I wouldn't know the first thing about using the editing software, and I wouldn't know where to turn to if I didn't know how to fix the lighting on the camera, or if I didn't know how to edit the certain intro scene for this thing. So it's really been a huge focal point in my life at the moment, and it's really helped me see that film is something that I want to do, but it wouldn't have been possible without that position. So, thank you.
Alex Wolklamski.
Zansky. First thing I'd like to do is draw the board's attention to a petition that we created, Kim created last Monday, which has gathered 162 signatures in that time. So there's a list of everybody on that to pass around, as well as copies of the comments, all positive, referring to the AV media engineer position. So I, like Cam, have had an incredible experience benefiting from the position of AV media engineer. I went on the trip that we took to Middletown to record the boys' soccer game, which was an incredible opportunity. The outreach that the AV media engineer position was able to provide was something unlike I've ever seen. I was also among the students who went to the Bennington Senators games and filmed those with an incredibly large crowd, and learned an incredible amount from the director of media there. Another thing I've been helping the district do with the position of AV media engineer is Mr. Burbank and I have been creating the open house video with Mr. Trumbull to talk about the school. Also, there have been just countless opportunities to use the equipment and create media for the school, whether it's filming a TV show or going out and doing interviews with other people. There's just an incredible amount of connections that the AV media engineer position provides for students. Not to mention that there's an incredible amount of outreach. So within the community, and not just within the school.
Great, thank you.
Danny Stagliano.
What's up, everyone? I'm Danny Stagliano. I am a senior at Ithaca High School, also in the digital media program. I do a double period every day. I'm on the All in the Morning with Ariel, one of the announcements anchors. And the show is one thing. That's like how I look at it. There's the show, there's the digital media class, and then there's the AV digital engineer position on top of that. Without that position, there are so many opportunities that we're just losing. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into all this equipment, into technology with our new Chromebooks. To take away a position that is doing so much. Look at all of these students around us here. That is how much this position has like affected the student body. Like, yes, it means a lot to me because at first when I went into this class, I don't like to read, so I went to digital media. I said, okay, I don't have to read. I'm in digital media. Now I'm going to Tulane University next year, going into business, and I want to possibly have a second major in digital media communications. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea what it was until I came and participated in this class, and not only the class, the outside jobs. I'm on the varsity soccer team, and believe me, it's not just them who appreciate or everyone watching. It's the players themselves. It means so much to have people recording you, have your family members who can't drive 3.5 hours to Middletown. I don't know. You have college coaches who are watching these games, who are creating college opportunities for kids to play in college. It's awesome. And I also I commentated some girls' soccer games myself. You should check those out. And, I don't know, like,
Imagine, you know.
I feel like at first I wanted to, you know, investment banking, like lots of money, and now like, oh my God, like I love doing this digital media stuff. I've come to the point where I just like, I will go in my free periods and I just work on digital media, and the AV digital media unnamed person, he's always there to help. And I think to take away that AV engineer position, you're taking away that helping hand that's gonna, you know, go outside of, you know, his job as digital media teacher and help. I don't know, that's how I look at it, so thank you.
Pat, Eric?
We do have a few folks intermixed here that are not probably going to speak to this, but we do have a few more. So Pat, oh, there's Pat.
Well, I think I'm going to chime in and say I think you should fund this. I'm totally convinced, but no, I'm actually, Dr. Brown, board members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Pat Eric, and as another ICSD budget comes to a vote, I want to remind the community that this budget contains $1 million for New Roots Charter School. And this is the 7th year that ICSD has been forced to fund this so-called school. I say so-called because New Roots graduated only 50% of its senior cohort last year, for the worst graduation rate in the history of high school education in Ithaca and surrounding districts. The ICSD's $7 million investment so far, coupled with another $10 million from surrounding districts, is hardly money well spent. New Roots will apply for a full 5-term renewal of its charter next year. New York State has said either they meet the benchmark for the full 5-year renewal, or the state will not renew the charter. Since New Root has not in 5 years met a majority of its absolute measures, this board might be anticipating a recommendation for non-renewal based solely on the failure of New Roots to meet its marks. However, we all know that New York State is a fickle entity with politicians driving a very deliberate agenda when it comes to charter schools. Having closely followed this issue for more than 6 years, I firmly believe that the ICSD Board of Education, under the direction of Superintendent Brown, must do 2 things. It must exercise its legal right to do unannounced visitations to the school, making this a regular year-round occurrence, and it must begin filing formal complaints outlining the numerous violations of charter and law caused by New Root's failure to meet its charter requirements. Without these steps, New Roots may be granted a 5-year renewal of charter, at which time they will likely apply for a middle school, spanning grades 5 to 8. This will at least double the cost to ICSD. If New Roots is granted a full charter for grades pre-K to 12, the cost to ICSD will be in excess of $5 million every year in today's dollars. Imagine the loss of programs and tax increase that would accompany such a price tag. I urge this board to take these immediate actions with regards to New Roots. It is a failing school, and we cannot afford to fund this failure. Thank you.
Eli Gordon.
Hi, my name is Eli Gordon. I'm a junior at high school, and I'm speaking about the position of AV Media Engineer. I'm a part of the digital media classes and television production club, both of which have provided me countless opportunities to pursue possibly a career in this industry, as I've learned countless things, both behind the camera and on the drawing board, writing things up, writing scripts. In production club, this position stays after school for countless hours to help students entirely to produce some of the work that you can see on YouTube, which is absolutely phenomenal. And with the help of this AV Media Engineer, I actually was able to receive national recognition from the White House for a film festival who entered with me, and one of my partners here is there next to me, and that's something I'll be able to cherish forever, keep on to. So I'm really thankful for that. So keep him at the school. Thank you.
No relation, I'm sure. Steve Gordon.
That's a cool. I am Steve Gordon. That was my son, and I think it's remarkable that he did this film about social causes with Max that was nationally recognized. Because before that, it was only videos about his dog. So, huge step up. I've been a television producer over 30 years, and I've been at Ithaca College teaching television production over 8 years, and I think for the first time in the 55-year history of Ithaca College and Park School, we have 2 freshmen coming in from this program who will be teaching assistants. And that's never happened. Never been freshman teaching assistants. For 2 to come from one school shows an incredible level of learning and expertise that I don't think is afforded in any other schools we've dealt with or have freshmen coming in from. So I think something has been right here. Something has gone very right, and I support that and hope that we can find a way to keep that going. I think that AV position has gone far and above what many other schools do in terms of training your students and our students, and I appreciate that. We all should be. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jessie Lilly.
Hi, my name is Jessie Liu, and I'm a senior at Ithaca High School. I'm currently in the English Digital Media program here, and we're so lucky to have such a great studio. If you have time, you should really go check it out. We have gorgeous cameras, a fantastic studio, but what we're most lucky to have is someone who understands how to use it and understands how to teach us how to use this equipment. Over the course of this year, I've created documentaries, I've created a film noir piece. My friends have interviewed local businesses, a Nobel Prize winner. None of this could have been made possible without someone who could have taught us how to create these fantastic films that you can watch on YouTube. And this curriculum is unlike other curriculums and requires a teacher unlike other teachers. Our homework isn't done at home. We come in mornings, we come in during our free periods, we come in after school to edit, to film, etc. We don't have problem sets. We go in, we use the technology, we use Adobe Premiere, and we cut all our footage and we put it together into these gorgeous pieces. And I feel really thankful to have experienced this class and had this mentor to guide me through it.
Maya Thompson.
Hi, I'm Maya Thompson, and I'm here as a steering committee member for Kids Discover the Trail Ithaca, which we'll just shorten to KDT for now. But as many of you know, the KDT allows almost 3,000 of all of our elementary students each year, including the pre-Ks, to go to over 150 field trips to local Discovery Trail sites. So these are our cultural institutions, and as kids, when they're young, if they go to cultural institutions, that becomes a lifelong habit. So the Discovery Trail site, students go to Discovery Trail sites and expand their horizons also beyond that with many hours of pre and post classroom activities that the teachers help the students scaffold their understanding of what they do on the field trip. So there are some funds being accepted tonight, and they are part of the annual support that's needed to run the Kids Discover the Trail Ithaca. Private support comes from the Ithaca Public Education Initiative, IPEI, and the Discovery Trail, who jointly receive gifts from individuals, businesses, and foundations so that no students are charged for the Ithaca Kids Discover the Trail Ithaca learning experience. So ICSD is Kids Discover the Trail's third collaborator, and I just want to say thank you for continuing to value the program by all that you do, but also by covering the transportation costs and enhancing the experience for ICSD teachers and program educators through related professional development. So again, thank you. We are proudly celebrating our 10th year with Kids Discover the Trail Ithaca. It's a really unique program. I'm a parent of a kindergartner and a third grader, So they've been, you know, they're well on their way through their Kids Discover the Trail experience. It's a really a quite remarkable program, and in our 10th year, we are proudly supporting thoughts from the community about jointly about how this program has affected all of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jack Powers.
Hello, I'm Jack Powers. Like Steve Gordon, I teach in the television radio department at Ithaca College. I come in two capacities. First, as a parent, I have two children at IHS, both involved in the digital media program, Emily and Jack, neither of which is comfortable speaking in public, so they're here for moral support. If I can talk about Emily for a second, Emily will be enrolling in Ithaca College in the television radio program in the fall, which was not something that she thought she would be doing before enrolling in the digital media program here. The reality is this: as somebody who teaches television and deals with television production all the time, the position is expensive. It is. It's not enough to just have a teacher. You also need the AV engineer. That's just the reality of the business. I'm fortunate enough to have just come back from Los Angeles yesterday, where a pilot was being filmed, and we had 200 full-time people working on that pilot. Of those 200 full-time, we had about 20 AV engineers. That's just for one show. What the facilities here at Ithaca High School are tremendous. It is simply not possible to have one person do that whole job just as a teacher. You need to have the AV engineer in addition to that. This year, the AV engineer position has allowed Emily to do things outside of the teaching environment, including making a video for IPEI, which unfortunately did not win the grant, but she did edit it. Also, helping her make a soccer highlight video for the soccer team, which she's a part of. Also doing promos for Z95. All of these things were taking place outside of the teaching environment, outside of the classroom, and all made possible by the AV engineer position. Jack also loves the digital media program and is also becoming more and more interested with each passing day. Thank you.
That was the last of those who had signed up to speak. Anyone else wish to speak at this time? Now's your chance.
Is there any chance I can do a quick round? No rebuttal.
You already spoke once, and so I'm really looking for anyone else that needs to speak. If nothing else, digital media has helped create a group of very well-spoken Ithaca High School students. We're going to break with the agenda a bit because instead of board responses, et cetera, at this time, Dr. Brown is going to go ahead and speak to this issue you did want to speak. That was the message I received. It wasn't sent digitally, but I was told that you wanted to go ahead.
Thank you.
It would have been more clear.
I appreciate all the young people and adults who've spoken tonight. There's much love and joy in my heart because of what was said. In my role as superintendent, I've learned over the years I have no power. I only have the opportunity to influence and to help folks with the vision and mission of the district. So at this point, I want to play a historian a bit and go back 3 years when we were sitting in this room making tough decisions as we always do. And on the agenda was the approval of about $250,000 in funding to create a digital media studio. Now, the emails with hatred and the comments that came that day to the board and myself about how dare we do that were tough. And it would have been easier for myself and the board to say, you know what, let's not do that. But that's also step back on this vision for teaching and learning that we've set out, and also talking about contemporary learning spaces. We want to engage, educate, and empower. What we saw tonight was engagement, education, and empowerment at its best. Just after a couple of years of doing this. Yes, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a contemporary learning space that we hoped would do just this. Frankly, I thought it would take 5 or 10 years to build this, but it's happened in just a few. At that same meeting, we also talked about this position, AV engineer, and we had done our research, we had talked to some folks. We knew at the time we needed someone who knew how to order some of the specialized equipment that's over there. It wasn't me. We needed somebody to order it, help get it up and running. And at this meeting, I remember saying, and in time, I hope that transition into a teaching position, and as we morph what we do with technology support, we can provide not only a teacher, but support for the engineering aspects as well. That was the vision. Where we are today, let's just clear up some facts. We are not eliminating a teaching position, the digital media teaching position that we have in place right now. That transition to the teaching position, and respectfully, much of what I've heard tonight has been about teaching and learning and relationship building. That's what our outstanding teachers do every day. And quite frankly, you have one in that position who will be there if that person chooses to be next year as well. What has happened by plan and design is we're transitioning our technology support services. As we've had many conversations in this room about transitioning technology support services. Right now, we're buying the services and support through the City RIC. And I'm hearing, and the data shows it, that folks are very happy with the technology support. AV engineering services and services that will help us with the breaking and fixing, and all those things will happen as well. So what's happened has been planned. Quite frankly, it's happened quickly, very much quicker than I thought it would, as far as the engagement, the enrollment patterns, folks' understanding about what we wanted to build over there. But in no way are we eliminating the teaching and learning position that is there. I've heard that 2 or 3 times, and 2 or 3 times I've heard people sort of refer to us eliminating the position. We aren't doing that. Yes, we're transitioning away from the engineering support that's in that studio, but that's not saying we won't have that type of engineering support going forward. Okay. Thank you for all the folks who showed up tonight, because it brought much joy again to my heart. And I've met with quite a few of you anyway, and I've seen and read the petitions also.
Did you want to speak then, Dr. Brown, or did you want to speak later? But I think you
I'm done.
You wanted to go ahead and speak to it now. It just seemed to make sense to just have Dr. Brown respond rather than us, who, we certainly appreciate all the comments and appreciate how well you made those comments, staying within and really advocating for our program, advocating for your school, advocating for your classmates. And that is what we always appreciate. And to that point, we appreciate also the representatives from Ithaca High School that come and advocate on your behalf as well. And so I'd like to hear from Ithaca High right now. And we'll go ahead and continue with our process.
Okay, so Dom Leasy and Mr. Trouble actually attended a meeting of class representatives where they answered over 50 questions to help bridge the gap between the central office and the students and help bust the myths that many were worried about. These reps then went to their specified classrooms and actually relayed this information to the students so they could have a better understanding of this new change that's going to come up next year. So hopefully students will be more at ease and more comfortable with this new information and this new understanding, so they'll be more accepting of these Chromebooks. And then April 23rd at the cafeteria around 6 to 8:30, the Brain team hosted their annual trivia night, where teams up to 5 students or adults, however they wanted, would go head-to-head to see who knew the most. With a $10 entrance fee that also included snacks and dinners, they had a blast and raised over $500.
So this past weekend and the previous weekend, we had our Model UN team compete in the Cornell Model United Nations Conference, and they went up against such famous or prestigious schools as Dalton and Horace Mann, although not winning any awards, but receiving several verbal commendations and enjoying a pleasurable 4-day-long experience of intensive debate and foreign negotiations. We also had our newly founded Ithaca High School debate team go to national competitions, primarily debating on the topic of whether the U.S. should send ground troops to combat ISIS. They had to argue both pro and con, switching sides quite frequently, and I'm ensured that they had a good time, lots of engaging debate and foreign policy as well. Also, it's that time of year. Summer is starting to come into the air. It's been a little bit warm, and we hope it gets warmer, but the democratic process is beginning in our school. We have clubs holding elections, and tomorrow after school we'll have officer elections for the class. Students can sign up to run for class president, class vice president, secretary, treasurer, even representatives to the board. And additionally, we have applications for link leaders being sent out, and so hopefully we'll have a handful of new link leaders be appointed so that we can help the incoming freshmen next year. We also have, in the past few weeks, on a lighter note, prom is in the air, and we've seen quite a few interesting prom proposals ranging from creative to classical occurring in the halls. So I'm sure our juniors and seniors are looking forward to that experience.
Yeah. This past Saturday on April 25th, the Ithaca High School math team attended the New York State Math League competition and placed second place in their division, which is an amazing feat. And one student even made it to the final round, and overall the event was very successful. And the weekend before that, 177 students and chaperones from IHS's music department traveled to New York City. The experience was very memorable, filled with high-quality performances at Broadway, Lincoln Center, and the Metropolitan Opera, and the students had a great time. The trip was smooth without any major mishaps, and both students and teachers that attended had an unforgettable experience.
Okay, firstly, I want to sincerely thank all the students who have engaged so profoundly in their own education and worked so diligently to present to this board tonight. I am most proud of all of you. Picture it! Hundreds of athletes from across Central New York gathered to compete in our one and only track invite, the Dan Fravel Ithaca Relays, this last Friday. And boy, did the talent come out in sprinting, throwing, and distance. We were victorious, shaking Shaker, beating Binghamton, and vanquishing Vestal. It was the first time in a long time we won, no doubt, honoring Coach Fravel's legacy. Okay, so this Saturday, 5 to 6:30 p.m., we will celebrate the 140th anniversary of Ithaca High School. 3 buildings, 140 years. This is a big event. Admission is free. It'll be in Culp Auditorium. We'll have speakers on the topics of alumni, activities, athletics, archives, other things that start with A, student performers, a lot of alumni speaking, 93-year-old guy who landed on the beaches of Normandy, some representatives from the class of 1954. Dr. Brown will be speaking on academics. Mr. Ainsley will be speaking on alumni. Please come, community, staff, and especially alumni. This Saturday, 5 to 6:30 p.m. in Culp. Free, and free food too. And as was said, some digital media students have been working masterfully and diligently on a virtual tour video of the high school, increasing an audio-visual education piece that will be showed at next year's open house. It will encompass various members of the school community. And who doesn't love visual learning? Thanks to the media associates and Mr. Trumbull for their support. And in honor of April being National Poetry Month, I have a poem today by Shel Silverstein entitled Backward Bill. Backward Bill, backward Bill. He lives way up on Backward Hill, which is really a hole in the sandy ground, but that's a hill turned upside down.
Board responses? Anyone for at this point? Sean, go ahead.
You've heard from a number of folks, from both your colleagues and folks on the board and Dr. Brown, commenting on the students' amazing poise and to be able to advocate in such strong ways. And I've really been so moved by the passion as I was by Danny, is that correct?
Yes.
And so what I really like to do is figure out where I can get a Buffalo Bills sweater like that. That is the best sweater I've seen in quite some time. But on a serious note, to the students, thank you very much for sharing your experiences. One of the things that's always impactful for us to hear as board members is the ways in which you're experiencing your education. So it's not just sort of talking about what you like, but sort of the skills that you're developing. So I know I speak for a number of my board members when I say we greatly appreciate you taking the time to share those words with us. So thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else? Very good. Well said, Sean. We will move on to the consent agenda, which is lengthy.
I'm going to move the consent, but with the deletion of an item that we had said we were going to delete in finance last night, and I thought had been deleted, but I see it's still there. Now I'm scanning to find it again. It was that scholarship topic. It's on page 5, middle of page 5 and down. we had asked to have that removed. So I'll move the consent with that item deleted.
I'll second.
Second by Jay. I don't.
It's not on the paper copy.
Yeah, it's not on the paper copy, Brad, but it's.
Well, the one that got uploaded to Dropbox 3 hours ago,
Still there.
since we're trying to be paperless.
Yep. But
That's the one I'm looking at.
Exactly. It was
I don't have a
agreed.
paper one.
Right. It was agreed at finance to punt on that for the time being. Any other questions on the consent?
If I could just speak to the Kids Discover the Trail. We heard from them a couple of weeks ago. It's great to see the funds in here now, and it's IPEI, it's PTAs, it's the Discovery Trail, it's a whole community supporting that program. Just want to speak to that and thank them, all the different groups, the diverse groups that contribute to it. We appreciate it, and I think 2,900 students appreciate it.
Any other questions regarding some of the consent? Anything, Pat? You all right?
I'm okay.
Okay, good. Questions were asked and answered, I believe, earlier. We're all good? All in favor? That's everyone. Minus Judy Max, I believe. And Dr. Brown, we're back around to...
I'll be very quick.
No, that's very good. You can talk as long as you want, Dr. Brown. As long as it's not more than 10 minutes.
Not more than 10 minutes, it won't be. It may be two. Very excited about Saturday's celebration. I want to plug that event also. And I am looking forward to sharing about the academic history of the Ithaca High School. And I'm looking forward to going through many, many old pictures along with some facts to tell the story. And I hope I can do it justice. But again, I'll be sharing out a lot of information over the coming days and hoping we can get a lot of folks here to celebrate with us. Also, again, appreciating the commitment from Board of Education members. Tonight, we have a board member whose birthday is today, who is actually at a meeting. Happy birthday, Mr. Elder Harris.
No cake for you. Sure.
Wow. I thought we stopped counting after a while. Isn't that
Special day, and he's at a board meeting, volunteering from his time to serve our community. So I appreciate you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good, Dr. Brown. And I guess I will be speaking for a short period of time on Saturday. Connor, good. And Dr. Brown and I were talking accommodations that I guess I would not have made the brain team back in the day. I don't think it wouldn't have happened. Really excellent commendation ceremony. Once again, very great to see all the excellence that was on display earlier tonight. And Dr. Brown, anything else? Are we good? All right. And school district business will move on. And students are going to Germany again, it looks like, for the 20th year.
Something like that.
We're ready?
Come on up. I'm going to share a bit about your, come here.
Oh, yes, definitely, come on
It's a
up.
little bit like a Senate hearing that way, right?
Might as well get on the hot seat, so.
Oh, yeah.
A bit about your trip and what you plan.
So yeah, we have been doing this trip actually since the late 80s. It is an exchange trip, not a sightseeing trip. Students are staying with their exchange partner for 3.5 weeks. They will attend school in Germany. We will stay for 3 days in Munich at the end of the trip. Do a little bit of moving around in Munich. And I think, is April still here? Yeah, April went. She probably can tell you much more about it. If you have questions. Okay, keep it nice though.
Okay, so actually this year I was not able to take German, and it was the biggest regret of my life because German was the best class that I've ever taken. And being able to go to Germany for 3 weeks, like everybody's always jealous because first off, you get to go to Germany for 3 weeks instead of 1 week, and it's less than the week-long cost of like the French trip or the Spanish trip. And then second, being able to completely be immersed into the German culture. We had our host families who we were with like 90% of the time. And then we had a lot of free roam, which was incredible because it wasn't just like sitting in a classroom all day and trying to learn, German even more. It was more like you were actually there and you got to experience the experience of Germany as a whole.
You have it. Could have said it better myself.
Well, the trip details are in your Dropbox. This trip has been going on for the past 20 years plus, or at least that's the latest.
I think it's actually my 10th year I'm doing this.
Right, exactly. There is a resolution, we do have to vote, so Jay, go ahead.
So I'm glad you came, just so you can be recognized. I think it's great, all the time and effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure to be on the board and see that these kind of activities are taken on and the benefits are just fantastic. So
Thank you
it's a formality for us to have to do this, but and for you to come, but it's great that you can come so we can see you and recognize you and thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to introduce David Isley.
Isley,
It's
yeah.
a new name, I'm to get used to it. Who is the German teacher at the WIT, who is second year doing.
It was my second year doing it officially with the
With you.
school. It's my fourth exchange that I've been dealing with. I started back while I was student teaching at IC, and I would come down and I did just linked up the Ithaca School District with Ithaca College to do programs where I could there. So that was good fun.
Excellent program.
What's not a formality is that we ask everyone who appears in the Senate seat about the ability and how much work you put in to attract students who might be considered FR, LP, free and reduced lunch programs, kids who might not even see themselves as having the capacity and the ability to go on trips like this. So can you enlighten us on what your group has done to try and make sure that we're meeting our district goal, to make sure that race and class are not predictors of kids' ability to participate?
No, I teach my students usually for a long period of time. Like April was in my class for 4 years. I'm usually very much aware of difficulties. And we have a scholarship fund that we dip in first. I always make sure there's enough money in there so at least 2 or 3 kids can get scholarship money. This is not to me a trip for the wealthy who have a straight A. I look at who will benefit from this trip the most, which is a different way of looking at it. So, I make sure that there's always money available for students who need it. I'm very well aware of that.
You mentioned the cost of the trip. We did see that it is pretty reasonable compared to some of the other trips that we see.
I always tell parents.
For the length of time, really the full month of July.
Yeah. It's a lot of money, but I think for that long a period, it's very reasonable.
Right, and we do our best to try to break that amount into reasonable payments for families over time.
Excellent. Pat, go ahead.
As the parent of 2 daughters who benefited from this trip 12 years apart and still talk about the experience, are still in contact with their host families and the students who live with us. My 31-year-old daughter is Facebook friends with the girl she stayed with. Our second daughter's host family, after their son came here, she stayed with them. They just sent their daughter over to stay with us for a month just for the heck of it, so she could have an immersion trip without going to school like her brother had to. And I'm just going to speak to, first of all, it is an amazing experience because it is nearly a month-long educational and cultural immersion experience. Students are living in the homes, students are going to school, they're experiencing another educational system, they're experiencing what it's like to be a teenager in another country in a very natural way. It's not a glitzy tourist capital, it's a regular German city. It really is an amazing experience for them, and for that reason it is incredibly reasonably priced for the amount of time you're getting, and our teachers have always done an amazing job acting as liaison with the schools in Germany, being in communication with host families, and meeting with the students on a regular basis before they go so that they will be good representatives of Ithaca High School, the city of Ithaca, the United States of America, and will really know how to blend in culturally, and they put an amazing amount of effort into preparing kids for this trip. So, and I just say thank you on behalf of every kid who's gone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Numbers 25, is that?
25,
25? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
I just want to note, this year, more male than female participants.
I know.
Because young men are underrepresented in study abroad, so gender is another issue that we have to look at with these, and you've done a great job attracting balanced representation.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Pat. Anything else? Are we good? There is a resolution.
I'll move the resolution as presented.
Second.
Second by Pat. Any other questions? All in favor? That's everyone. Have a great trip.
Thank you so much.
Who's the eyes?
And on to Ithaca Heights Local Assistant Plan. We do have two assistant plans that we do need to approve as a board, and we will we'll go ahead and do that now. But we'll speak to one and then the other, I believe.
Good evening.
I'm just sorry.
Good evening.
I just wanted to quickly introduce this. This year, the state has identified both Enfield Elementary and Cuga Heights Elementary for requiring a local assistance plan. Local assistance plan is something that's generated from the either gap in achievement or lower achievement in the cases of both schools for economically disadvantaged students in ELA and math. It's important to note that it is based on one measure, the state testing system. But the local assistance plan, it's important to note, is something that's entirely based on a local review of school practices, procedures, and et cetera, and is generated by the school staff. This is something I also wanted to note that has been ongoing for the entire school year this year for these schools, and something that they've been working on and implementing for the entire year with their staff. You'll see some trends kind of throughout the evening, and so a lot of the things we do in the district now are interrelated. So there's going to be some professional development that they will talk about at their individual schools that we will then sort of reinforce again at the district level when we talk about PD a little bit later tonight. The last thing I want to say, just from the district perspective, there's been a lot of talk about and a lot of action around the opt-out movement across the entire state of New York. Like I said, this requirement is based completely on state tests. At the commendation ceremony tonight, Dr. Brown spoke about how in Ithaca we take a lot of pride at going way beyond just a state test score in terms of how we measure excellence in the district. And so we do a lot of other things to measure our success, whether they're local assessments, either individual classroom generated, school generated, or district generated assessments that are always created by teachers in our district. We'll be speaking about that a little bit later this evening, but also sometimes more qualitative measures like survey data or teacher evaluation observation data. One of the ways we share that data is through our equity report card that's on our website. But as I was reflecting and getting and talking with both the principals as we were preparing for this evening, and also just with what's been happening across the state, I think it's now on us here in Ithaca to take all the things that we do and to generate a more holistic accountability system that we push to even greater levels as a district. So there's nothing like just sort of stating a goal in front of the board that you need to then put a lot of work into. But we started to talk about at the principal level and at the central administration level to take all the pieces of data that we have and really make it a greater part of a holistic accountability system. What the state is requiring us to sort of report on is our attempt to look at things holistically, even though it's based on just one assessment result. So I wanted to just provide that brief introduction. Brad was going to speak a bit to what they're doing at Cuba Heights this year. Lisa was going to speak to Enfield, and we are here to answer questions as well about what's happening in the schools.
Okay.
Brad.
During the summer at our administrative retreat, Dr. Brown introduced a book that he wanted us to read called Leading with Love. And right around the same time, Dr. Rendell explained to me that we were designated as needing a local assistance plan. And this is right about 2 weeks before school started. And even though I've been doing this kind of work for many years, I always get very anxious at the beginning of the year, and I always want to be able to be as positive and optimistic as I can for the staff. So those two things kind of juxtapose, leading with love, and guess what? We have this local assistance plan. So one of the things that's most important to me, we've shared the plan with you, and I'll be happy to answer specific questions, but what's not in the plan, but is clearly more important than specific pieces of data, is that I think that what our economically disadvantaged children need from us at our school is they need our love. And I don't say that lightly. I say that our school at Cuba Heights is a tale of two cities, as you know. We have a West Village population, and we have kids that live right in the neighborhood. But once those kids come into our school, they're treated as members of the school community, and we work towards a common goal and a common purpose. We spend a great deal of time as a faculty and as a community trying to figure out how can we even the playing field, how can we make life more comfortable and more equitable for our families and our children that live in poverty. One of the transportation barriers that we have is that even though to get from West Village to our school is approximately a 15-minute ride, there are some folks that simply have a difficult time coming into our school doors at all. And there are many things that our staff are willing to do to outreach to folks that have a difficult time coming into our school. So every evening and after-school opportunity that we have, we provide transportation. I talked to Dr. Brown earlier on about not making transportation be the barrier for people to participate in our school. We also have a very generous PTA who understands that there are folks that are disenfranchised with the school, and they've offered funding to provide cab service to people to get them to come to our school. And we also have teachers that are more than willing to do home visits at West Village to try and engage folks that have a difficult time coming into our school. I personally make many house calls, sometimes when children are sick and we can't find someone to bring them, someone to come and get their child. I end up being the messenger or the delivery person. And the goal is always the same, that we want everybody in our school, regardless of where their address is, to feel like they're included in our school. As a staff, we spend a great deal of time in our PLC work collaborating and talking about what can we do to differentiate our learning so that every student, regardless of where he or she comes into school, has the same opportunity for success. Years ago, I went to a professional development training with Tony Wagner from Harvard, and he talked about, his mantra was, when you look at data, that you have to be able to say, no shame, no blame, no excuses. And I talked to the staff about that because I'll tell you that at the beginning of the year, finding out that we were designated as needing a local assistance plan is really a disheartening thing. But what I said to the staff then and what I say to you now is that I'm proud of the work that we do because we understand what the challenges are for the kids that come to our school in poverty and have an achievement gap when they walk in our door. And we spend a great deal of time, energy, and resources on trying to figure out how we're going to best meet their needs. I want to, this was an email from today, but it summarized something that we do all year long. It's really the only thing that I know that we can do to try and make sure that when kids come into school, we're doing everything in our power to be able to get them to where they need to be. So there was a special ed teacher wrote an email to a parent who was concerned that her child was being pulled out for a service. And she said, the math group configurations have changed throughout the year with kids working with different teachers and in different spaces. For this unit, Pam and I decided I'd take a small mixed group of students from 2 different classes. This is a mixed group made up of students with IEP services and without IEP services. I'm teaching the same lessons as are being taught in the class. However, I've created more hands-on learning activities. The students in my group are doing the same assignments as given in class, but with my spin on it. The only reason they're coming to my room is so that I have more flexibility with materials and a quieter space in which to work. The ability of our teachers, our general ed teachers, in conjunction with our reading teachers, our special ed teachers, student teachers, and volunteers, is really about flex grouping so that we give as much small group and one-on-one attention to the kids that are in need. It is disheartening to know that there's an achievement gap. The overall scores in our school are really solid, but the specific subgroup in terms of where we're at with our economically disadvantaged children has grown, which is why we are today. I don't need a local assistance plan. I don't need the state to tell me. And our teachers don't need the plan to know what our challenges are. But I will tell you that we do lead with love, and we do treat those children with love. Many of them come to school hungry, so not only are we giving them breakfast and lunch, we also provide them with snacks to take on their way home. There are kids that don't have clothes, and we provide them with clothing as well. So I feel like we do everything we can within our power to try and make kids as supported, comforted, loved, fed, clothed as we can. And no one in our school is naive about what the gap is and what our challenges are. So the work is difficult work, but it's the reality of what we have in our school. And I don't doubt that if we continue to weigh the test score in particular, I think we'll continue to see a gap. It's not that we won't work to try to close the gap, it's just the gap is the gap. If we measure our school in ways that go beyond specific test scores, like Matt's talking about, I feel very comfortable and very proud of what our efforts are. So if you have specific questions that you'd like me to address, I'm more than happy to do that.
Questions for Brad? Brad, we have the document itself. It's obviously generated by the state, and it's mind-numbing to read through it. It's something that has to be produced, and we have to vote on that plan and approve the plan. So we're well aware of.
Yep.
I wanted to add from my perspective, this is something, obviously, based on what Brad said, they've been working on since this summer. It's coming to you at a later time of the year, and I'll take credit for that. That was something under my supervision, so I apologize for that.
And Connor, did you have a question? And then,
thank you for touching on the equity pieces, transportation, food, clothing. You mentioned the word disheartening. How has the culture or morale changed? Is there worry or panic, or is it mainly focused on solving the problem?
I don't think there's any sense of panic in the school, but I do think that people at times share that angst of when people feel like they're giving 100% of their time and energy and heart and soul. Even if we don't get a pat on the back, we'd like to know that we're doing okay. We don't want to know that we're on somebody's naughty list. So I always encourage the staff to breathe and say that we do need to remain positive, because it's not about playing a blame game or a shame game or an excuse game. It's about, this is what we chose to do. This is the work we have before us, and we'll do it.
Thank you.
Sean, go ahead.
My question is about the plan, but I'm trying to figure out the right word to say that. I don't know if that I share that all of our students come in with a gap, or that the gap exists. And so I know that you weren't saying that either, Brad, but I'm trying to understand that, right, that I think there's an assumption that just because we have free and reduced lunch students that somehow they're automatically going to be an education gap, and that's a premise that I refuse to begin with, right, that all students are brilliant and all students can learn. I also really greatly appreciate your saying the ways in which faculty and staff would get this designation, and that right at the beginning of the school year it changes the energy of the beginning of the school year. Having been through a couple of these in my 5 years on the board, I realize that while it's state bureaucracy, that sometimes the process can actually generate some good thinking and some good work. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the process to create your local system plan, and are there things that maybe you all took away, and not that you weren't doing these things anyway, but maybe a reaffirmation of the good work that folks have already been doing around that area?
Well, I think that when I say no shame, no blame, no excuses, it's really about what factors are within our control.
Sure.
So if we start to go down the road where we're complaining about the unfairness of the tests or the unfairness of just the fact that we have people that live in poverty and what can we do to fix that, and so, whether we say it's a geographic problem or it's just all the things that go along with poverty, crime, and so on and so forth. So we talk about what do we have influence on? We have influence on what happens to the children for the 6 hours that they're in our school. And we do. I think that we all live by the mantra of don't give up, because there are parents that will persist with it. If we can't get them into school, we'll figure out ways. Sometimes we have award ceremonies because we want to be able to recognize students, because we know that there are a lot of parents, not all, but there are parents that had poor experiences or difficult experiences when they were in high school or elementary school, and they feel disenfranchised from the school. So we try and turn that around by have things to be able to celebrate student effort and achievement for. So even if a student's not on grade level, but they've made some growth, it's reason to celebrate. So we continually figure out ways, how can we invite people into our school? That's not to say your child is failing or your child is doing poorly, but how can we celebrate the fact that your child is here on time and making good effort? So the other thing that we do is really try and be as deliberate as we can for the time that kids are in our school, so that we don't want to have a lot of downtime and we don't want to have a lot of... the other thing that I feel strongly about is that I agree with you that there's no reason to assume that because of what someone's bank account looks like, what their potential is for achievement. So I really do feel, I think we're in this business because we believe that education is the way to move out of poverty. So I think that, I know for myself, when I address kindergartners and first graders, I talk to them about going to college. And I think that's an important thing for us to do, is to talk to our children at a very young age, all of our children, about going to college so that they can think about opportunities that they'll have, that the potential is there for them. And I do feel like the other thing that we do as a staff is to try and not get down on the system and figure out what is it that we can do. So the level of collaboration and the PLC work at the grade level and across grade levels each year has gotten better, more collaborative, tighter, and people are, I think, being more thoughtful and creative about what kind of interventions and what kind of flexible groupings we can have for students so that we can help them.
Other questions? Chris?
I guess I'm trying to find my words, because what I took away was this may be essentially, and I know you answered a lot of these questions, this may be essentially a poverty problem, which is, I believe there's some truth. There's also, my concern is it a perception to poverty problem as well? That may be an underlying mentality there. And what are our processes, not even process, what are our steps to counteract poverty? And what you said was exactly what I wanted to hear, as far as when they're with you 6 hours a day, that is the best environment possible for them to learn and grow and be healthy. But how do you counteract that poverty problem? I have mixed feelings. I don't buy it 100%, but how do we counteract that? There's got to be at least 3 steps in there that will help move the needle.
So I still think that as much as possible, that if we can create successful experiences for children, then parents can be more likely to buy into what's happening in our school. So one of the things that's very important to me is to stand outside the door each morning and greet every student by name, because I want our kids to feel that they have a home at Ithaca Heights and that they have a connection to me personally as well as the staff. So I don't personally believe that because a kid lives across town that they're not going to be able to be successful in our school. But I do think that there are obstacles to overcome. And I also believe, and I think our teachers believe, that if you work hard, you can overcome obstacles, because there are many success stories. The other thing that I will tell you is that we've had some difficult equity conversations about white privilege in particular, or what it's like to be a middle-class person versus a person who lives in an impoverished home. And those are not easy conversations to have with the staff, but I think it's important that we have them anyway. We can be uncomfortable with one another, but it's worth having the conversation.
I will, Pat, go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on some of your statements. They brought back some memories for me when you were talking about, first of all, the poverty and the problem of parent involvement, and you've got quite a distance there, and then talking to kids about college. When my older daughter was going to South Hill, there were a lot fewer upper middle class developments on South Hill, and all of her friends were living in fairly reduced circumstances in rural Danby. And if I didn't drive her whole group of friends to a concert or a play or some kind of after-school activity, they didn't go because their parents might be working 2 or 3 jobs. They had no money for gasoline. They couldn't get them there. And they were just, a wonderful, sweet bunch of kids. And by the time I was driving them all around in 6th grade, they would all sit in my car and they'd all say, Abby's going to college and we're not. And that was at 11 and 12 years old. And I appreciate what you say about talking to kids about college. And I say to them, if you work hard and you apply yourself, there is money for you. There are resources. But none of her friends graduated high school. Drifted off, couldn't afford to live in Ithaca. Most were parents before they would have graduated from high school. And it stuck with me ever since, and it's one of the reasons I ran for the school board.
One of the things instructionally I just wanted to add was we've really tried at the elementary level to take a perspective of what's good for Enfield or what's good for Cuba Heights is also the same, for Northeast. And so today we had a large number of elementary teachers doing curriculum pilot work where they were really working hard, focused on quality assessments and driving instruction. The reason I share that is actually both of these schools right here probably made up almost half of the number of teachers there. So a lot of the district-wide efforts that we have been pushing forward, PLC work, the curriculum pilot work, having data drive instruction in a sort of more holistic way, teachers at Cuba Heights have really taken the lead on. And so I feel like that part in a way gets unsaid because it's kind of part of the larger district work, but I really commend the staff at Cuba Heights for taking the leadership role. And I think again it comes from their embrace of success for all the kids in the school.
Anything else for Brad? Do we want to just...
We could do both and then vote on both, or you could vote and,
Well, we'll continue talking and then we'll vote on one and vote on the other, but,
okay.
Yeah. But it's always good to see Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so Enfield, a little bit of a different story. We've got about 70% economically disadvantaged. So I was struck by your question, Chris, about how you really start to tackle that. And one of the things I have been thinking a lot about since my leadership at Enfield is some ways to do that. And I came to the conclusion at the end of last year that in addition to academics, we also had to start tackling the health and wellness of the community out there at Enfield. So one of the things that I was really excited about, and we began last summer, was we partnered with Dr. Nancy Cushman to do some work around mindfulness, which, if you don't know about mindfulness, it's really just about teaching kids, and my staff participate as well, about how to be present in the moment and in the now. So we've got mindfulness started in about half of our classrooms. Teachers got so excited about it. We asked Nancy to, at least for the second half of the year, go into the other classrooms. So she's in rooms 15, 20 minutes once a week, just showing some strategies to kids. It's pretty powerful to watch. And I think the teachers like it too, because who wouldn't like to sit and have a quiet moment with their kids, right? So we're working on that. The other thing that happened at Enfield that I'm really grateful for is Healthy Fresh Snack Program came to Enfield, so now twice a week. We also have, I know it's at BJM too, so we have kids have Healthy Fresh Snack, organic produce, served family style in bowls. They're loving it. They're loving trying it. Our parents are also invited to contribute, and a lot of them do. We said, hey, you don't have to worry about sending snack in twice a week. If you want to contribute, whatever you can, we're happy to have it. So those are kind of two new things that we're doing with the health and wellness piece. In terms of the academic piece, I spoke last year. I'm really proud of the collaborative model that we do have going at Enfield. We have the ability to ground our special ed and reading teachers, really just each one of the people in 2 classrooms. And teachers, I have such incredible teachers and incredible teams working to design instruction that meets the needs of the kids. It is not uncommon to walk into Enfield and watch somebody who's technically a reading specialist be teaching a math lesson. So our teachers are, they're doing whatever they can, to meet the needs of the kids, and they like the model because it's flexible. They're not locked into time, they're not locked into groups. As kids' needs change, groups change, teaching style changes. So we have that going for us. We're in our 3rd year of working on the collaborative model, and I kind of joke with my staff. I say, I get to arrange the marriage there, but you get to make it work. So we have that, and even I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Brad said. Our faculty meeting and PLC work, and I know you probably read it in the plan, is quite significant. We have committed as a staff. The beginning of this year, we are focused on teaching and learning during the 90 minutes every Wednesday we are together. We are not doing administrivia. We are not whining about the bathroom or the cafeteria food. And it was a big shift, but 45 of those minutes, our learning pod teams they were focused on inquiry cycles this year. I had them really look at their kids, look at instruction, come up with a question, focus on changing instruction that would help our students achieve. So we've done 2 of these inquiry cycles. They were kind of new for our staff, but the work that they've done and some of the progress that they've made is phenomenal. My work with them, in addition to Leading with Love, Matt Landau also introduced a book called Leaders of Their Own Learning, 2 principles. It's really about student engaged assessment. It's about what can we do as teachers to get kids to own learning and to own school, so that school isn't something that happens to me, school is something that I do. So we've been working a little bit with Beth Dreyer, TST BOCES, really examining some of our practices, how to make learning really explicit to kids, that they really understand why I'm doing this and what's important, and getting involved in the process so they feel more partners in that process. So that's been some significant and rigorous work for us this year, and I'm really proud of our work during that time, and I'm really proud of the teachers' commitment to letting me, allowing me, and allowing them to really have the opportunity as a time where it's focused on their learning and tackling some of these hard issues. In terms of our caregivers, we have a small but mighty PTA. I am just amazed at what the small group of like 10 people pulls off. And you know, when we pull off events at Enfield, teachers partner a lot. They come out at night, support family nights. Last year I began working with PTA and transforming sort of that traditional PTA meeting style, saying, you know what, half of your quote-unquote meeting time has to be parent involvement. We have to have a math night, have a science night, have a mindfulness night, have a health and wellness night. We have a folk and fairy tale night. Those are events that we get folks, kids coming back in because they're participating in it, they bring their parents. So those kinds of nights for us are really our opportunity to get parents into the school, feel welcome in the school, have some time to talk with them. We find the more informal nights and the nights where their kids are kind of showcasing their learning are real powerful moments for kids and caregivers and teachers.
I just want to reinforce one thing that Lisa said. About a year ago, this time, maybe a little bit later in the spring, we all, the central office leaders, met with BOCES, and we really specifically asked them to start bringing some of their services directly to us and embed them in our schools instead of everything having to be up on their campus. And so one of our first pilots with this has been at Enfield with their ELA staff developer is kind of embedded into the Enfield staff for a very regular scheduled sort of thing. And so we'll both analyze the success of that and also push or encourage, whatever verb you want to use, BOCES to continue to think differently about the way they offer services for ICSD. We think since we are such a different district in many ways in the TST network that we should have some things presented to us differently. So Lisa and her staff were quick to embrace that, and we thank you on that part. The other thing I would just wanted to mention, and Lisa talked about this last year, just want to give it a quick plug. She's been doing something called visual thinking strategies at the school with an outside consultant. Very low cost, I probably would add, and so last summer many of the Enfield teachers came in for a half day or a day to do a very intentional sort of staff development that's really, you'll give it better justice, but involving really drawing out eloquent answers from every student in your classroom, really deep and thoughtful responses to a piece of art, whether they're responding to one of their peers or they're responding to a teacher question. I was able to be a part of some of the training last summer and had an impact on me as an educator and probably as a parent too. So of course I started testing it at home, but it's a really intentional thing that they do at Enfield, and it may not be like the flashiest sort of change strategy in the world, but every classroom in the school is doing very intentional conversations with students where they're not accepting yes, no, sort of one-word answers to questions, and they are really listening deep and thoughtful responses from their students in response to a lot of times art, pieces of art. And so that's been something that's been ongoing at Enfield for the last few years that kind of sets them out too.
And we were able to expand that this year. BTS is happening in every classroom, K through 5. And we do have a trainer. She's great. She comes in 2 or 3 times a year. It's a model of professional development I really love because she will spend a day, we say BTSing, with the kids, and she will walk into classrooms and she'll do an image and model a BTS lesson, and then the teacher will do one, and then she'll provide the teacher with some collaborative feedback. But just to explain BTS a little bit better,
better than
clear. Great. What it is really intentional. It looks easy to facilitate, but it's not, because as a teacher, you have to be pretty quiet, and you have to let the kids really do a lot of the talking. So what a teacher is doing during that time is they're asking kids to look at an image and asking them what they see. So a kid will give an answer of something, as the teacher has to paraphrase that, whatever the kid says, using other words. So we're talking about building rich language, lots of vocabulary. The follow-up question to that is that if a kid doesn't say something literal, is, what do you see that makes you say that? So in a way, you're sort of doing that shift of the Common Core, requiring students to give evidence for their thinking using an image. Same thing we ask kids to do when they're looking at complex text now. You know, they have to read it, and then they have to make an inference, and then they have to provide supporting evidence. So it's a very intentional strategy, sort of foundational strategy for building some of that higher level thinking. Also, the cool part too is kids learn how to agree or disagree with their peers, revise their thinking. And the teacher really just sort of facilitates that whole conversation without imparting any judgment on any particular answer, okay? Like building that community of conversation with our kids.
That's much better than I did, but I do want to add one thing about what, you know, when they look at when big longitudinal studies of effective classrooms across probably countries, international studies, when students are doing a majority of the talking, and it's intentional talking, achievement is higher. We've talked a bit about poverty tonight. A lot of times when high poverty classrooms are studied across different geographic locations, a lot of time the amount of student talk is much lower than so-called advanced classes. So this is trying to turn this in an intentional way just completely on its head, and so I just wanted to add that 2 cents in. So I'll be quiet.
Be quiet, Matt. We can. Any questions for Lisa?
Happy to take questions.
No,
I have a question. With a school with that high of a level of FRLP, can you help us understand what the gap is between how much the kids have mastered about subject matters in the class? In other words, my instinct would say that there would not be as much differentiated learning as possible, right? Given the narrative we're sold that all kids who come from a school with that level of income might all be a little bit behind, right? So it's almost counterintuitive, because the typical narrative is if we have more of a mixed income, then the kids who have a certain income are going to be doing much better, and the kids who have a lower income are not going to be nearly as proficient in subject matter. How does that play out in the school in which 70% of the kids all come from that class of student?
Right. So we do have high achieving students. I mean, our classrooms, what you'll see there is you'll see a diverse range, and 17 students before you. So there is a ton of differentiation going on. It's not, because in order to be successful, you have to reach the high.
Right.
Right? So you've got to, and then you have this real diverse mix of kids with a lot of different, I mean, it's complex. There's a lot of different challenges, and a lot of different kinds of needs. So, everybody's there, like we know what the learning target is. It's really being masterful, that designing that way that the kid is going to get there. So, I mean, that's the beauty of the collaborative model. I mean, you can see a lot of different approaches going on at the same time. You can see some hands-on going on at the same time as maybe something less hands-on. I don't know if I'm capturing it well or explaining it right.
I think you're into it. There's still a gap.
There's
so
still a gap.
narratives are not relevant.
Right.
And it's
But
complicated to put together the system for each kid.
And our kids are amazing. I mean, and I say that, and I mean, every time Matt and Lavelle walk in, it's, you would think, maybe our culture and climate, I mean, morale isn't always great, but I mean, we're happy, and our kids are happy. I mean, they want to be there. It's a warm I always get compliments from visitors, what a warm and welcoming place Enfield is. The kids, I think, they're loved, the teachers care incredibly about them. I've seen teachers go above and beyond, as just like Brad said, to work with caregivers, meet with kids, provide kids with opportunities. I sort of have this movement this year to do Saturday field trips going on, so parents can come, and we're having some success with it.
I do go to Connor. I do cringe. I still cringe after all these years when I hear achievement associated with geography in this district. It's still, I still cringe. So I'm not going there, but you can live 2 houses from Cuba Heights and not be reading 2 levels above your grade, right? You can have challenges, you can have issues, and there are kids in Enfield that are probably reading 5 levels above their grade. And yes, they may indeed qualify for free, reduced price lunch, but it's an interesting community, and as our whole community is. Connor, did you have?
Thank you for the report, and thank you especially for the health and wellness piece. Same question I asked to Mr. Pollock. What's the response, not just among parents, not just among staff, but also parents to the state's designation?
To the state's designation? No one's happy about it. It's disappointing. We have a large number of students who, according to that measure, aren't making it. But we, like Brad said, we focus on a lot of different measures. If we look at our local achievement measures, Enfield kids are performing as well as a lot of the other elementary schools are on the ICSD assessments. So we try to stay focused on the positive. We're focused on teaching and learning, but we like to have fun too. One of my favorite things is we have a school-wide monthly assembly connected to our PBIS program. This year, we wanted it to be all student-led. So once a month, grade level is leading that assembly. They perform, they showcase some of their learning, sing, we get rowdy, and it's a great way to start the day. So, you're welcome.
The best thing about LAPs is that we get to hear about schools from the building leaders, and it's we weren't going to spend a lot of time on this, but actually it was. I think we all wanted to hear what's happening at Cuba Heights and Enfield, frankly, and that's probably one of the most important things that we do tonight.
When we're done with this part, I have a proposed agenda change that I'm going to bring to the board to have you chew over, but we'll try.
But again, it's a tremendous amount of work and identifying, knowing all the students that come into your class, come into your doors every day, and in doing what you do, we always appreciate that. We do. Any other questions for the group here?
What do we need to accept these plans?
We do.
Have you moved at all?
I'll move that we accept the Cuba Heights Elementary School Local Assistance Plan.
Second by Eldred. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? That's everyone, right? And then
Move the Enfield Local Assistance Plan for acceptance.
I'll second. Second by Chris. He beat whoever else it was. Are we all good? Anything else? All in favor? That's everybody.
Thank you both.
Tremendous job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Matt, you had something you wanted to say now.
I don't know how exactly this might work, but we had 2 other things on the agenda tonight.
Right.
The Teaching is the Core grant update. That has been a very involved process. Grant funded, team of teachers with some administrators have reviewed assessments across the district. That's a fairly in-depth report and presentation. If it so pleases the board, we would be happy to do that the next board meeting. We can also do it tonight. We would like to do the summer PD update, which is a lot quicker tonight because we are going to start sharing that with staff the next few days. And so we thought we could do a quicker summer PD update, but it's all based on what you want to do.
Well, I'm certainly good with hearing about teaching as the core next time. But that's just me. Are we good? No, yes?
I'm okay with the change.
Okay.
Anyone else? So we're modifying the agenda yet again tonight. But we appreciate that, and to that point, there seemed, in the report regarding teaching as the core, it seemed like there was more questions raised than answered, so...
Some dedicated time would be good.
Right, exactly. So that proves I actually looked at it, so...
I read it this afternoon.
Yeah, so
That's that brain team you're on, Rob.
Yeah, I know, exactly. It's I was the last kid, in the playground. Yeah, it's just...
So, but before we get to professional development, I'll move the Special Education Committee appointments
I'll second
for acceptance.
Just to this point, we did approve this last time, but there was an edit to the document, and I come from the school if you can't change anything after we approve it, so we're just approving it again. So it's really the same document with a few corrections. So, all in favor? Thanks. And now we're ready for the summer PD update. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. So we actually, when we present on the Teaching is the Core grant next board meeting, we will actually get a little bit deeper into PD because PD is a big part of it. We wanted to provide a brief overview of summer professional development because we're rolling it out in the next few days. As we talked about in the last board meeting, we have received some additional state funds, not as much as been reported in the press, but that the board at both the finance committee level and then at the board meeting level asked to designate a portion of that to professional development. So quite honestly, last year our summer professional development was not extensive. We focused solely on curriculum development, which is a great thing to focus on, and we tried to infuse professional development through that. We will continue with that, and they will speak to that at greater depth, but we will also broaden a little bit, and we will start again offering some summer professional development to support teachers with the one-to-one rollout, with our teaching of language arts, ELA, and mathematics, and some other areas. So if you all could provide just a quick overview, and then we actually want to, this is a very fluid document, this is not set in stone, we want to roll out some of the dates so teachers can start planning. We'd love to hear feedback either tonight or at the next board meeting about things that you feel that we might be missing or overlooking too, so I wanted to put that out there.
So you have a draft in your Dropbox that has a big draft across the middle of it. Many of these activities that we're offering are continuation of the work this year. We didn't just say, hey, we have some money, let's try this. We said, how can we continue this hard work that the teachers have been doing? We also are offering some new areas as we have new regulations and we have new opportunities through our one-to-one initiative. So many of these things will be offered this summer as continuations, and will also be offered this fall and will be continuing throughout the next school year. Really starting from our anchor of curriculum that we've been working on with elementary for the last 3 years, with middle school for the last year, and we're really shifting to supporting work that has been ongoing at the high school and really trying to infuse a lot of the district perspective of understanding by design and really thinking like an assessor into that work at all those levels, so that our anchors are the elementary, middle, and high school curriculum work. And you can see there are some draft dates on there, and from that anchor we're going to be plugging in when we're going to be holding these different activities and opportunities for teachers. Because of some new regulations for English as a second language, which now the state is calling English as a new language, so you'll see that's EN now. We will be focusing on professional development support for English as a second language, or ENL, teachers as well as classroom teachers that have students that are speakers of new languages in their classrooms. So we're really putting a focus on that, supporting these students. And so curriculum and English as a new language, and
We'll also be offering some inclusion and co-teaching workshops and work sessions. And something that we're excited about is reaching out to some of our colleagues, our teacher colleagues, who are really skilled in this area and in teaching students who are learning English and in some other areas that I'm going to jump into too. So we're going to be accessing some in-district people, and Matt talked about BOCES as well, and to help put some of these on as well. So we'll do some basics of co-teaching and inclusion, and we'll also be offering some a workshop for administrators around observing in the co-taught classroom. So you can really get a sense of what does that look like, and what does excellence look like in that co-taught classroom. We'll also take a look at literacy. You know, we've worked on and many teachers worked on the elementary literacy framework, which we've come to you time and time again, I think over the past 3 years since we've been doing some of that work. And we're going to use that, and again, some literacy essentials in order to guide some elementary literacy work as well. So you'll see there are two there. There's one on the essentials of elementary literacy and one that's a little bit more advanced. Again, that's for classroom teachers, reading specialists, etc. And also mathematics, looking at differentiating and using models. And I should also say that along with literacy and mathematics, ensuring that those workshops are really tied into the curriculum work that Liddy talked about is going to be really key as well.
And then our other major initiative, our teaching and learning initiative surrounding the one-to-one rollout. We are planning a large catalog of things to support teachers in preparing for that next year. So to kick off the summer, we'll be collaborating with TST BOCES and SUNY Portland, actually to bring a group of national ed tech experts here to lead a mini Google Summit. We will be providing the facility. They will be paid for the people to lead the summit, which is a great opportunity for us. So that will kick off on the first Friday of summer, June 26th, Google Summit. Besides that, what we have heard a lot from teachers is wanting time to really think deeply about what one-to-one means for teaching and learning in their classroom and facilitated time. So utilizing some of our expert teachers here in Ithaca, as well as Zach Lind and Mike Dingman, the two instructional technology specialists that we have from Cinevic, to facilitate sessions where there is some direct instruction around various Google tools and web tools that can support teaching and learning, but then providing teachers time to actually experiment with those tools and then do some instructional planning with kind of the experts there to guide and support. So there's a whole listing of various tools for assessment, specific training on just Google Calendar, how might you use that in the classroom, or Google Docs. We'll also be providing opportunities for our primary teachers, so our pre-K through 3 teachers, to come together in grade level sessions to think about iPads and how they're going to use the iPads that will be more available in their classrooms next year as we kind of transition from the iPads kind of spread throughout the district to bringing them to our primary classrooms, and really thinking deeply about what are the types of applications that they want to use with the students in their classroom. We will be working with we want to really provide some time for our teacher librarians to come together as a PLC to do some deep thinking about what is the role of the library in kind of the 21st century school setting, right? Because it is an integral, it is the center of the school, and kind of thinking through how they can really be leaders in this initiative and supporting not only students but their colleagues and teachers throughout the school. We'll be working directly with principals and administrators in the district to support them in thinking about what does this mean when you're observing in classrooms? What types of teaching and learning might you expect to see? What kind of look fors might you have in the classroom? How does this connect to the Danielson rubric that we already use in teacher evaluation? And also providing some direct instruction to administrators around how they can leverage these technology tools to, in the professional development that they plan for teachers during faculty meetings and PLCs. And much of that will be through modeling and providing experiences with kind of a flipped professional development experience for administrators. And then another kind of final major is around digital citizenship. So as we are rolling out lots of devices to students, we need to make sure that we are putting in place systems so that students, teachers are being learning what they need to know to be safe, responsible citizens in the digital world. So we're working at developing a kind of mini curriculum, kind of just a baseline. Like, this is ongoing work. We know it will continue for years, but get us started. What is the baseline training you want every teacher to have? And creating a curriculum that can be delivered both in-person sessions and online, so that teachers have choice in how they engage with that curriculum, and so that we can get everybody to have that experience by the fall. And then also working with buildings about how they're rolling out the devices and what that kind of initial digital citizenship training will look like for students in each individual building.
Sean, go ahead. Yeah, questions?
The acronym GAFE?
Google Apps for Education. Yeah. And believe it or not, it's
Which I had to-
pronounced GAF.
Which I had to look up this afternoon. So
Did
you Google it,
Brad?
Did you Google it?
I Googled it. Google Apps for Education. So that's the suite of applications.
Yeah, correct. And we're talking, and yes.
So you probably can't tell me how much state ed spent on changing ESL to ENL, right? I mean, did they take a vote, or they just...
I do have to say that the changing of the name was a small part. They really have done a lot of work. I'm not sure who the specific they are. And they have produced some documents that are very supportive for both ENL teachers and classroom teachers in supporting students within those classrooms. So that has been a name change, but along with some very supportive documents to help us support students. So
More than just a name.
it's more than
Thankfully.
just a name.
Okay.
I have to say that they've done some really great work to support us.
Other questions? First blush, this seemingly is a far more robust summer schedule than we've been able to do the last 2 years.
Yeah, more than that. I'm looking at it myself, and it goes back almost 4 years. And we really did some really targeted embedded PD around just teaching and learning strategies. And I believe you and Lee and the team of folks here kick-started that. And the summers after that, the 2 summers after that, we were a bit of a national model and attraction for folks to come hear the conversations, which we had the national event. So we had 1 year 400 and 1 year 500 folks come. It sounds the cycle is starting again. We're going back to the basics. Our one-to-one implementation, one, it will be probably the largest in New York State, and 2, it's unique in that it's a combination of blended approach with the iPad and the Chromebook, and we have 5 years worth of PD around good teaching and learning strategies before we even talk about the technology tool. So I think after going doing this embedded work this summer, if we choose to go that, we will be another, again, state and national model for even more work next summer as we do this. But I'm excited about this. I can't wait to be in class like I was that first year with you and the team here, helping us understand what the levels of engagement and thinking were we want to get to in our classrooms. And now it sounds like what the level of thinking and engagement we're going to need to get to with the device in everyone's hand.
And also being fairly creative in how resources are spent, because we haven't dramatically increased the PD line, correct, in the budget. That's going to be voted on in a little bit. This would qualify for the next year's budget, I suppose, right? It's after this fiscal year. So, but being very creative for this summer anyway, and hopefully as we go forward. I state that, but it's a question, I guess, but we are doing that.
We're in the same line of thinking as you.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, I'm looking forward to it. We'll get invites to some of these things?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Some of them, I don't want all of them.
We'll update the calendar as we go.
It's summer.
We'll give you dates and locations and times. You're welcome to any or all.
And we'll call you personally. For every single one.
Sean always appreciates that. So great. Anything else, Matt?
Yep.
Everyone?
Thank you.
Great.
We'll do teaching as
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Lots of clapping tonight. That's it's all good. Anything else?
I'll move adjournment.
Since we're
Looks like we're already adjourned.
the kids are adjourning us, so I think we're